Okay, the recording started. Thank you very much for joining me today for today's Lunch and Learn. I do record these so that I can post them to my website as I just discussed. My name is Dan Hotka. I'm your host today for Monday's Lunch and Learn. My short disclaimer. I am an Oracle ACE director. This is my method of sharing the technologies among the masses. This has been scripting month, and I got another couple of weeks. I've got some events coming up, so we're going to take a little break in the Lunch and Learn, just a couple of week break, and then we'll get back to it in May or late April, and we'll see what the topics are. So if there's a topic that you would like to see covered, email me, drop me a line, let me know that you're enjoying these and what you would like me to discuss. I've got to update this slide. I've got 13 books out now. Many of you have emailed me to get the regular weekly announcements or the links when I put them available. Today we're covering some more material that I've posted to Toad World. I do training for a living. I've got a nice one-course price over on-site or over the web. If I come on-site, I have a portable lab. I do a variety of courses. And, ta-da! My first video in Safari Books has been published and is available, and we're working on a handful more. So watch for this. If you only have one or two people that need training, this is a very exciting opportunity, a way to see the same class, same hands-on opportunity, probably a little bit more setup on your side perhaps, I don't know. But at any rate, I'm pretty excited to be able to announce this. It's something that I've been working on this year. So again, Lunch and Learns, the links in the presentations, the links to the presentation and the slides are available shortly after the conclusion of these. This is scripting month, and I have got two scripts to talk about today. Oops, I forgot to take that off from last week's. So today we're going to talk about, I've got a cool, it's a labels program of all things. It makes Avery 3F labels, but it's a nice mix of SQL Plus and PL SQL technologies mixing together. And then we're going to start down the path of SQL creating SQL. And then we'll wrap up next week with the finale of SQL creating SQL. But this is an interesting topic because Oracle, with SQL Plus and its ability to open a file, and we can spool out syntax. There are several useful uses for this, and we'll talk about those some more today. So the first one, mixing SQL and PL SQL. Let's go back to this, and there's the 3UP Labels program. And this is out on Toad World, of course, and there's my 3UP Labels. And first I start down the path of setting up the environment. I set my line size to 91. What this does for me is when a line gets longer than 91, SQL Plus will put a carriage return on it for me. Okay, so here, these are the SQL Plus part right here. Okay, we've got the SQL Plus part. We've got our server output size. I've bumped the buffer way up. By the way, how do you know this is big enough? It'll let you know. Okay, if it's not big enough, it'll say array size, server array size too small. That's what it comes back and complains with, does not run. So you just keep bumping it up until you find the size that it likes. Okay, so there's the page size at 60. So this will throw a page break in after I do my 30 labels. Okay, I said echo off, timeout, term out off. It'll run fairly silent. Okay, and then I spool my output file. Remember, SQL Plus can open one output file. So this is going to open in the folder that SQL Plus was started in, or where this script was. We can put a full path in here as well for your particular operating system. So, okay, now we got an anonymous PL SQL block. There's the declare, and we look down here, and then there's the end loop. There's the end. Okay? And then we return to SQL Plus just to close the output file and exit out of the script. Okay, so let's look at what I'm doing here in the anonymous block. First out of the gate, I've got a cursor. Okay, I'm looking for some items in my database, and I'm formatting the first name and the last name, okay, trimming them down so that if they're longer than what I want, if the whole thing is longer than 26, it's going to get trimmed down to 26. 26 is the width of my label, okay? So notice I bring in address, I strip it down to 26 positions, city, state, and zip, and I trim it down to 26 positions, okay? From members, blah, blah, blah. So as this is returning rows, it's going to run the loop. So there's my work fields. I'm fetching into these fields, of course, and there's my 3 lines, okay, my 3 output lines. So here, I open the cursor, and then I drop right into the loop, and I'm going to fetch into those variables. Exit when it's not found. So the newer format, if you've taken any of my classes, I talk about this as the newer format, easier to code, okay? Now, I got to keep track of my labels going across the page. So when it gets to 4, I've got 3 full labels. Then, when I get 3 full labels, I'm going to put the 3 output lines. Remember, if you take 26, we'll back up here a little bit, 26 times 3 with the additional spaces between them. And remember, look at how I initiate the lines. I'm putting about 4 or 5 spaces in. So these are Avery labels, Avery 3-up labels. So I print the 3 lines, and then I use DBMS output new line. I put 3 carriage returns in. There's the 6 lines on the label. Line 1, line 2, and line 3. I reinitialize the line. I set the label count back to 1. So this is tight loop. So there, I'm prepping the line. Line 1 is equal to line 1, and I'm concatenating on the next label information. If I'm not at a full count, I concatenate on the spacing. Okay? And then when I'm all done, I exit the loop. I exit that cursor loop. I close the cursor. I write the remaining lines just in case there's anything out there. I write them all out and spool off. Exit the script. So this will print Avery 3-up labels. The line is more than 90 positions long, you get a carriage return. That is one way of getting carriage returns in your output. And this is a nice mix of both PL SQL and SQL Plus together. Okay. The next script that I want to talk about is taking us down the SQL creating SQL path. Okay, this is another blog post just of a couple weeks ago. Okay, or was it just last week? No, it was a couple weeks ago. So, all right. So here, what I've got is some install scripts that I use to set up the classes, the classroom environment for my classes. Okay. Everyone gets a VMware image now, so it's easier. I've changed lab environments. My older lab was cute little Toshiba Tecras 3110s, okay? They were very nice to take on the road. They were small, compact, very durable. The screens weren't very big, and I got some complaints about the small keyboards. But they kind of predated the netbook. They were not able to run Oracle, but I used them as client-server machines. So I would set up 20 users on my server, use them to client serve in, but I had to clean up the script afterwards. So I could have dropped the user, recreated the user. You know, all of this stuff, whenever you start doing mass drops and stuff, Oracle doesn't delete these lines out of the data dictionary. Your data dictionary just keeps growing and growing and growing. And I have found that dropping and adding users does the same thing, but it makes a little bit different mess out there. So at any rate, what I did is I got this script I call cleanup, okay, and there's full path. It's going to get created in the temp folder on my C drive. Spool, I open it, and now I'm going to select the syntax, drop table, and I'm going to concatenate in a table name, and notice I got the right spacing. I got a space here, I've got a space here, and I've got ending with a semicolon, okay? So I'm going to spool this out, purge, doesn't put it in the recycle bin, otherwise you got to purge the recycle bin. From user table, so whatever that person created, that lab user that the script is running for, whatever that user created table-wise gets dropped. Whatever synonyms, we're dropping synonyms now, they gets dropped. Drop public synonyms from user underbar. We're dropping the public synonyms now, and now we're dropping the views. Okay, we're going to drop packages, we're going to drop procedures, we're going to drop functions, and there's where the views get dropped. Okay, I like to go after user underbar objects because everything is there. So I could have done this for tables, tables as well. The indexes get dropped when you drop the table. Okay, so then we spool off, and then I do a start on this. And of course, what's in there is all of these, all of these drop statements. That's what's in there for everything that's in there. This is a sample of what it looks like when it comes out. When you create those scripts, there's that drop table, drop in the ABC table, and I just gave you a sampling of it here, but it will go through and create the right syntax. I run this in a script. I'm pretty comfortable with what I'm doing. If I were a DBA type and I was doing some cleanup, I would probably let it create the script, but I would review the script and then run it manually. Okay, you can run it in Toad, you can run it in SQL Developer, you can run it in SQL Plus. I'm from yesteryear. I've been around Oracle since version 4. So I'm kind of used to the old true method. You know, you stay with what works. I don't mean to be Mr. Character Mode all the time, but SQL Plus still has some useful value. So this script then would go on to create all of the new objects. Last week, if you remember, I talked about a table space that would give you how much room is in the table spaces. If I was sending a script to someone to set up for a class, it had that snippet in there so that people could pick a table space to put the objects in. You know, in other words, the success will be pretty good if you pick a table space with enough room for everything. So, anyway, I'm hoping all of these scripts kind of make some sense to you and you find them useful in your day-to-day use. Next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about some more SQL creating SQL. We're going to wrap up the conversation. I got some coding style that I want to show you, a good way of mixing and creating some SQL creating SQL with some specifics in it, and what I call data-driven scripts, i.e., we're going to go back. Remember when we were talking about those variables, populating variables, and then turning around and using them. I call those data-driven scripts because the scripts are actually driven, the content of the scripts are driven from items in a table. So anyway, that does it for today. I want to thank you for joining me today. The slides and the links to this presentation will be up on my website shortly. Let everyone know. Thank you, and remember me if you have a training need.